Welcome to the Lion's Share podcast, where we break down today's most impactful research and bring fresh insights from the academic frontier straight to you.
Today we're looking at a company that is, well, it's basically a mandatory case study in every business school on the planet. Netflix.
It really is.
This is a company that didn't just survive disruption, it defined it.
Yeah.
Moving from mail-order DVDs to just ruling the entire global streaming landscape.
And that's how we're going to approach it today. We're essentially treating Netflix's entire trajectory as a kind of living research paper.
Okay.
Our sources today dig into its strategic evolution. I mean, everything from its near-death experience back in 2000 all the way to the patents and, get this, the physical retail bets they're making right now.
So our mission for you is to pull out those critical insights on reinvention, technology, innovation that you can actually apply.
Exactly.
We've pulled together material on everything, the infamous Blockbuster rejection, the whole new rules culture from Reed Hastings.
The streaming war.
The streaming wars, and their really aggressive future bets like this revolutionary personalization tech and even physical stores. It's a huge landscape of strategic pivots.
It is. And to really understand the success, you have to start at their lowest point, the moment of failure, really. The Blockbuster stress test.
Right. That famous meeting. We're talking early 2000. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, the Netflix co-founders, they walk into the massive headquarters of Blockbuster.
And you have to picture the scene. Blockbuster at that time was a $6 billion behemoth, 9,000 stores.
And Netflix was a tiny 2-year-old startup, losing $57 million that year with only 300,000 subscribers. They were desperate.
So they make an offer. They say, Blockbuster, you should acquire us for $50 million, just $50 million, and they'd run Blockbuster's online business.
And the Blockbuster CEO, John Anioko, he basically laughed them out of the room.
A flat, arrogant rejection.
That story, of 60,000 Blockbuster employees just erupting in laughter, it's so powerful because it just shows the hubris of a market leader.
Completely. They have the resources, the brand, the customers. They looked at this tiny startup and saw absolutely no threat.
And yet, just 10 years later, Blockbuster is bankrupt, gone. And Netflix, which went public in 2002, just kept growing and pivoting again and again.
Which brings us to the key scholarly question, right? Why did Blockbuster fail to adapt to a technological change that was so obviously coming, while Netflix could reinvent its entire business model multiple times?
Well, Hastings has a pretty straightforward answer for that, which he lays out in his book, No Rules, Rules. He says their secret sauce was the culture.
Right, this idea of valuing people over process.
And innovation over efficiency. It's this famous and pretty controversial organizational structure with very few controls.
And that's the essential piece to grasp here. That cultural mindset, that freedom is what enabled their, let's call it, entrepreneurial adaptation. They weren't just reacting. They had the agility to make massive, risky pivots.
Like going from DVDs to streaming.
Exactly, without the bureaucracy that just completely choked Blockbuster.
But doesn't that lack of process become a problem at scale? I mean, when you have thousands of employees all over the world, freedom and responsibility sounds great, but it must be a nightmare to manage without total chaos.
It can be. But for Netflix, the cost of a little internal chaos was way less than the cost of strategic paralysis. They prioritized that agility, which they needed for the next big move.
And that next big move, championed by Ted Sarandos, was the original content strategy.
Yes. This was the major inflection point. It really starts with House of Cards in 2013.
Because suddenly, the content owners, Disney, Warner Bros., they're all planning their own streaming platforms.
And they're pulling their licensed shows. Netflix realized very quickly they needed their own proprietary assets.
So licensing is just a temporary fix.
It's a temporary measure, exactly. Owning your content is the long-term value play. By making their own shows, they were building an IP moat, a protective wall of exclusive property that nobody else could touch.
That had to be an unbelievably expensive gamble at the time. Was betting the whole company on owning content the only real option, or was it just a desperate roll of the dice?
It was a necessity, for sure, but they were smart about it. They integrated it with data. Ted Sarandos used data-driven insights to figure out what to commission.
So they weren't just guessing.
Not at all. They knew which actors, which genres, which viewing habits overlapped. They were making informed, global bets on everything from K-dramas to Narcos.
And that massive investment is what built the sheer scale behind their platform economics. They got a global audience faster than anyone else, which give them this self-perpetuating advantage.
That's it. That's the core concept of platform economics. Scale creates its own value. When you hear that Netflix has a shorter road for a new original to become a hit.
What that really means is when they launch a show, 260 million paying customers get notified instantly.
It's a built-in marketing machine. It drives virality. It guarantees high initial engagement. It's just so much easier and cheaper to create a global hit on a platform that big.
Which is why so many analysts are now saying the streaming wars are, well, basically over. Netflix has a 7.5% share of total TV viewing. That's second only to YouTube.
The numbers back it up. Nielsen just reported that streaming viewing, at 44.8%, has now officially surpassed linear TV for the first time.
And while Netflix is profitable, its competitors, Disney+, Warner Bros., Discovery, they're still losing billions just trying to catch up.
It really validates that Netflix statement that, quote, building a large, successful streaming business is hard.
Okay, but even with that dominance, they aren't standing still. We're seeing these huge strategic reversals now, all aimed at finding new revenue.
Oh, absolutely. Like the shift to an ad-supported plan.
After years of saying they'd never do commercials and the big password-sharing crackdown.
These are classic entrepreneurial moves. They were philosophically against ads, but they saw the economic need for a dual revenue stream. The ad tier gets you price-sensitive users, and the password crackdown converts casual viewers into paying ones.
And now they're getting aggressive with live events, with sports. Securing WWE's Raw in 2025 is a massive shift.
It's huge. That's a direct play to boost their ad business and make the platform stickier. You're giving people a reason to log on at a specific time every single week.
But let's shift to their tech, because the patents they're filing, they reveal an even wilder vision for the future.
This is where it gets really interesting, moving beyond just simple recommendations.
Yeah, we're talking about customizing the actual viewing experience. There was a December patent about developing personalized trailers for the same movie.
Think about the implications of that level of digital transformation. For you, a trailer might highlight the action star because the data says you love action movies.
But for me, it might focus on the romantic subplot.
Exactly, or the critical acclaim. The system is dynamically optimizing the marketing message for every single user. It's incredible.
And it gets even crazier with that interactive content patent from February. They're looking at bringing back things like Bandersnatch, but driven by machine learning.
So the ML system would analyze your profile and subtly change the choose-your-own-adventure options to maximize your personal engagement.
Wow.
And all this deep personalization technology, it's aimed at solving that widespread pain point of content overload. There's just too much stuff. Reducing that search friction is critical for keeping you subscribed.
It's why Disney's CEO, Bob Iger, called Netflix the gold standard in tech that they need to match.
It is. But here's the paradox. They're doubling down on this hyper-efficient digital personalization. And at the same time, they're making a profoundly physical bet.
You're talking about Netflix House.
The launch of permanent retail and entertainment locations in 2025. It feels like a complete contradiction.
It really does. The company that killed the video rental store is now opening its own physical stores with dining, retail, and live events like a Squid Game obstacle course.
It's a massive investment of capital and focus.
So is this a smart move? Or is it a desperate attempt to capture younger consumers who, reports say are now spending a bit more time on YouTube than Netflix?
Well, according to Ted Sarandos, the goal is to make it a place you might visit a couple of times a month, not like a rare trip to Disneyland.
So more of an experiential marketing play.
I think so. It's designed to deepen brand loyalty and, of course, capture some high-margin retail revenue. It's a big, expensive gamble to fight for mindshare.
Which just highlights all the strategic tensions they're juggling. And we have to mention the external pressures, too, like the recent labor strikes.
Right, where writers and actors were demanding better pay and more data transparency, citing the very business practices that Netflix helped popularize.
And even internally, they're licensing rival content, like HBO's 6 Feet Under. That's great for short-term engagement.
But it's capital that isn't going into building their own proprietary IP moat. It's a really tough balancing act.
So after all of this, what does this whole saga mean for you, the learner, looking at this through a scholarly lens?
Well, from a scholarly view, Netflix's success doesn't come from one single invention. It comes from sustained entrepreneurial adaptation. That's the key. And it's all enabled by their unique culture.
That culture is what allowed them to constantly pivot the business model.
From DVD to streaming to original content, ads, and now even to physical retail. That cultural agility is their core strategic asset.
And for the practitioner, the manager out there trying to stay competitive.
The takeaway is that the future requires this combination of, one, technological prowess being that gold standard, and two, aggressive revenue diversification and, well, sometimes counterintuitive marketing like Netflix House.
You have to be ready to pivot into the very arenas you once helped destroy.
It's a powerful lesson, but I do want to leave you with one final thought, one last thing to chew on, and it goes back to those personalization patents.
Okay, lay it on us.
If Netflix actually pulls this off, if they successfully use this technology to customize the actual content being consumed.
Not just the trailer, but the story itself.
The ML-driven interactive storyline, yes. Do they risk fundamentally fragmenting our shared cultural moments? If every single user gets a subtly tailored experience, does that technology actually reduce the virality of their biggest hits?
That is the ultimate tension. The company that gave us the global shared experience of a Squid Game might be designing the tech that prevents the next Squid Game from ever happening in the same way.
Exactly. It's a fascinating problem.
We'll be watching to see how they navigate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the culture of reinvention.
Until next time.
Thanks for tuning into the Lion's Share podcast. If you enjoyed today's discussion, share it with a friend and join us next time for more ideas worth talking about. We'll see you next time.